See, how many solid listeners are there? Then first one, solid context listener. Second one, solid context attribute listener. Third one, HTTP session listener. Fourth one,
or online student, now check it. Now is it clear? Okay. Say first one solid context listener, second one solid context attribute listener, third one HTTP session listener, fourth one HTTP session attribute listener. HTTP session attribute listener. Like this, many are there. Many are there. Yesterday, I given one listener, solid context listener. Okay. That listener, I'll explain. Yesterday, one diagram I given. This is a diagram I given. Now, this one, how to use, I'll show you. See, our task is this one. Our task is this one. One solid, one listener. One solid, one listener. Okay. Say file, new deck web project. Suppose solid context listener. Next, XML, finish. Now, this is our task. First, we have to write listener. First, we have to write listener class. Say, just right click, new, here, solid listener. This is listener. Listener, you have to select. Okay. Now, package name, suppose solid context listener. Suppose class name, my listener. Okay, my listener. Now, it is not a solid. It is listener class. Listener class. That's what super class, HTTP solid, generic solid not coming, you observe. Okay. Now, here I right clicked. After that, I selected new. After that, I selected listener. Then package name I written solid context listener, same name. Class name my listener I written. After that, you have to click on next. Here list of listeners showing, you observe. Solid context listener, solid context attribute listener, HTTP session listener, HTTP session attribute listener. See, HTTP session activation listener, HTTP session binding listener, solid request listener, solid request attribute listener. Total 8. Out of 8, only this is important. And this is important. Only 2 important out of 8. So these remaining all not important. These 2 if you learn also enough. Say now which listener required? Select this one. Click on next. Now next click on finish. You observe here what is happened. See, public class my listener implement solid context listener. Now it is not a solid. This class not derived from HTTP solid. This class not derived from generic solid. This class not derived from solid interface. This class derived from which interface? Solid context listener. In a solid context listener, how many methods are there? 2 methods. What are those? Context initialized, context destroyed. That's it. Now, our task is here we have to write establishing connection. Here we have to close. Connection establishment code here, connection close code here. Okay, that is our task. Now, see, observe. Here it is default constructor generated. Here context initialized, context destroyed. Here loading a driver. What will write? Class dot for name. What is the driver? Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver. After this, connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection. 3 parameters. Which type? String type. What is the first string? URL. What is the URL? JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon at localhost colon 1521XC. Next, username, system, password, manager. Okay. Now, connection established. Okay. This connection, now this con is an object reference. Con is an object reference of connection. Is it instance variable or class variable or local variable now? Now it is. Can we write connection dot close here? Then what you have to do? This is you have to declare as an instance variable. So here outside you have to write. Okay. Connection con. Now this is instance variable. Now can I access here? Yes. Connection dot close. You can write now. Now you observe in a context initialized method. Inside the context initialized connection establishment code. Inside the context destroyed connection close code I written. See here connection con here established here closed. Connection establishment code completed, connection close code completed. But this connection we have to pass to context. This connection we have to pass to context. This connection if you want to pass to context, set attribute method of solid context required. Yesterday I given methods. You see the methods for getting solid context. Which method you have to call? Get solid context. Get solid context method in which interface? Which class? Solid context event one here I given. One more what I given? Generic solid. Method name same. Method name same, but concepts are different. You observe. One is solid context event. One more generic solid. Here is there any generic solid here? No. But here solid context event? Yes. Here. This solid context event is 2 methods I given. Get solid context. Method name same, but class names are different. Solid context event class contains get solid context. That method we have to call. What is the return type of that method? Solid. What do you have to write? Solid context SC equal to this solid context event SCE dot get solid context. Now we got a context. But yesterday few people asked why 2 method. But now can you use generic solid method here? That's what 2 methods separate. Solid context, it is accessible in the entire web application. That web application can have servlets also, listeners also, filters also. Everywhere you can access. That's what same method name, many places they given. Now, in this program, can we access generic servlet, get servlet context method? No. But here how to access context with servlet context event. Later in filter also context required. Because in a web application, you can write servlets, you can write listeners, you can write filters, but all can use the context. Because context memory, this memory is common to entire web application. So in that web application, what are the servlets are there? All servlets can use. What are the listeners are there? All listeners can use. What are the filters are there? All filters can use. And this method, get servlet context method, many places available. Okay. In this program, servlet context event, but servlet context event is a class. Servlet context event is a class. But that object who will create? Web container creates. When it creates? Whenever context is created. When context is created, whenever application is deployed. That is series of actions I given. So whenever you deploy application in a server, context created. Whenever context created, context event generated. That is passed to this method. This method receives. With that, I am calling get context, get servlet context. We got a context. With this context, can I call set attribute? Yes. What we have tried? Servlet context dot set attribute. But attribute, how many parameters? See, 2 parameter. Which type? First parameter, string. Second type, object. Second one, object. Okay. Now you observe dot set attribute. First one, string. I'll write it is Oracle connection, something Oracle as a string format I'm writing. Now it is not compulsory to write Oracle here. Whatever you want, you can write. I'm writing Oracle. You write ABC, XYZ, whatever you want, you can write. It is name to get the data. Okay. Year. Actual parameter. What is actual parameter? Object class object. But I'm passing con. Valid or not valid, if I ask, directly it shows. Now it is valid or not valid? How it is valid? Give answer. Because it is Eclipse. It is Eclipse. It is Eclipse. Valid or not valid means directly it shows if error is there. But error is not there, you observe. So it is valid. Answer is valid. But how it is valid? Object is super class for all classes. But connection is class? No. But how it is valid? Connection is class or interface? Interface. How it is valid? What do you mind? Answer is valid because there is no error. It is 100% right. There is no mistake. Okay. But connection is interface. Connection interface superclass will be there? No. Class cannot be denoted in interface. You already studied. Object class, is it denoted in connection interface? No. But how it is valid? So core Java, it is not going to end. So many concepts will be there. Core Java, whatever you learn, it is 2 years also learn, it is not going to end. Those many concepts will be there. Now, I passed a connection reference. Connection reference. But connection is interface. It is not a class. Object class inherited in every class. But object class not inherited in interfaces. Okay. Now, how it is valid? Driver manager not there. I didn't pass driver manager. I passed connection. Give me answer. Online students give an answer. They give an right answer. Online student 2-3 members give an answer, right answer. You have seen answer also. Give me answer. Because chat box is visible to offline students. That chat box is not visible to other online students. Because I given host and co-host only. Now give me answer. They give an answer. You have seen answer also. Connection interface implemented in one class. That class extends object class. At last valid. Now this connection interface also implemented in one class, no? That class having relationship with the driver class has a relationship. That class extends object. So here actually connection interface, it refers one object, no? That object class will be the no? That class extends object class. Like that it comes. So it is actually connection interface, not in connection object class, not denoted in connection interface. But it actually you are passing connection. Connection is reference, refers one object. That object comes, but that object class contain that object class superclass is again object class. That is inverted. Whenever you pass reference also, are object required. Reference, if suppose the reference contain null, no use of that one. Reference refers object. That class will be there, no? That class. All JDBC interfaces are implemented in driver software. One class will be there. All Servlet interfaces are implemented in web container software. So in that classes will be there. That class name not required to us. But if you print, you will get it. Yeah, JDBC time I explained. System.out.println connection you print. Will you get a connection? No. Connection refers one object. No. That class name comes. See. Here AOB equal to new B. AOB equal to new B. System.out.println OB. What is the output comes? Hash code comes okay. But class name at hash code comes no. What is out? Which class name comes? A class or B class? B class. Because it refers B object. Whichever object is there, that class comes. So if I print here, you will not get output A at hash code. You will get output B at hash code. B at hash code. Okay. If you print OB, you will get a B class because OB refers B object. B class comes, at symbol comes, hash code in hexadecimal format comes. Like that, if you want to find out, you can print system.out.println con. Then it refers one class, no? That class name comes. Okay. It is valid set attribute. Now, we are getting these errors, exceptions. Okay. Try catch blocks. I'll write. Try catch blocks over. Okay. Connection close also error. Here also try catch. Okay. Now, like this, connection establishment completed. So listener class is completed. This part completed. Now we have tried this program also. Okay. First of all, write this program. mylistener.java. 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 MyListener implements Solid Context Listener. Now, any listener class implements the listener interface. Writing program style is same. Any listener. Context initialized, context destroyed. Context initialized is called whenever application deployed. Context destroyed is called whenever application undeployed. Is it over? So I given series of actions yesterday. Whenever application deployed, context created, then context event generated, then that is passed to in context initialized method. Context initialized method body executed. In that body, we return connection establishment. Whenever application undeployed, again context destroyed, then again event generated. That event received by this method, context destroyed. This method body executed. That means connection closed. Okay. Is it completed? Now, your connection established, that connection reference placed in context. Okay. Here, myListener.java. Two methods we overridden. Here, connection establishment code, connection close code. This connection object I placed here. This context, is it common to all solids or specific to solid? This object data, not only this solid, other solids also can use in that application. Now, how to get this connection, we'll see now. Now, right click, new solid. Solid context listener, sub my solid. Okay, it is HTTP solid. See, by default coming. Next. Now, whatever you want, you can write. Suppose I'll write test, URL pattern, test I'll write. Okay. Next. Which type of request coming by default? Get. So do get. Here. You can write the code. First of all, we required context. For getting context, which method you have to call? Which method? Get solid context. Get solid context in which class? Generic solid. Generic solid denoted in which class? HTTP solid denoted in which class? Using my solid, can I access generic solid? Yes or no? No. So, get solid context method we have to call. Get solid context method in which class? Generic solid. Generic solid denoted in HTTP solid denoted in using my solid object. Can I access generic solid? Yes. My solid object, who will create that object? How to access that object? How to access this dot only? This refers current object. No. Return type solid context. Get solid context. Is it required to write this? No. Implicitly this. Here this also no need to write. No need to write. By default this. It is no need to write. By default this keyword comes. So here I am calling get solid context. That means here implicitly this. This refers current object, current class, my solid. That super class, HTTP solid. That super class, generic solid. That method this is. With this, you can call get attribute. Get attribute. But get attribute method return type is object class object. But what we require? Connection. Now, is it upcasting or downcasting? Up or down? Downcasting. Now, connection con equal to solid context dot get attribute. Attribute name what I given? Oracle. So Oracle I'm writing. Is it valid? Is it valid? Why it is not valid? Explicit conversion required. This actually connection not imported. That error showing. Now this error showing you observe. Okay, previously connection not imported. That's what that error shown. Now this error also coming. No, this is downcasting. How to do? Explicit. What you write? Connection. Over. Now we got a connection. That's it. Now according to our application, we got a connection. With this connection, whatever you want, you can do. Okay. Just one message I'll print. Print writer. Response dot get writer. pw dot println. Connection object obtained successfully. Now here not created. Okay, received from context. Now, for this, if you want to print HTML format, you can make it HTML. If you want, you can add HTML. Text. Now, you can close. Now, you observe. Print writer imported. Now, the exceptions also not there. Already throws is there. Now, it's over. Now, you observe. I'll run this application. Right click. Run as server. Save. My listener also save. Now, application deployed. Application deployed. Whenever application deployed, solid context created. Event generated. That event passed to this method and this code executed. That object placed. It's already done over. This program executed. This listener program executed till I didn't execute solid. Before sending request only, that is executed. Now, what is the URL pattern for solid? Test. Connection object obtained successfully. So, we got it object. Whatever you want, we can do. Now, here, this connection you can use in other solid, n number of solid. This can be used here also, anywhere. One connection only you can access in all solids. Okay, that is a benefit. Now, here, this is I'm not executing. It is automatically executed. This is only I'm executing. I send request to my solid. What I typed in address bar? Test. Then my request passed to my solid. My solid executed. It will return the object. If object is not there, exception comes. Object is there. That's what we got a message. If object is not there here, error comes. But when this is executed, when our application deployed. When this is executed, when our application undeployed. That's it. Now, this is solid program. Now, node mysolid.java. mysolid.java. Now write this program. Write the notes. End of the session, I'll clarify your doubts. Online students. mysolid.java. Is it over? Here, just a context retrieved, context already created. That context referred by SC. There is a context memory, one memory only. That memory only we can access in the entire war file. Okay. Now, get solid context. You will get a context reference. With that, get attribute oracle. Then connection reference comes. That is retrieved successfully. That message appears. Okay. Now, when connection is established here in this program, whenever web application is deployed on server, when connection is closed, whenever web application is undeployed, whenever web application is deployed, connection established. Whenever web application is undeployed, connection destroyed. See, this program I'm not executing, automatically working, but this one, how system knows my listener is a context listener. Now, how system knows my listener class only context initialize. Now, actually, whenever application deployed, context initialized method called. But that method in which class now? My listener. How system knows it is in my listener? Now, this configuration created web.xml automatically. That's what it is not showing to you. Now, whenever web application deployed, context initialized method called. But context initialized method in which class? My listener. But how server knows it is in my listener? With XML file. XML already generated. That XML you see. Here already XML generated. One line code will be there. One line. Just listener class name configured. See? Like this configured. If this is not configured, how it knows it is in my listener class? Now, if you configure like this, it will search for context listener method in this class. Otherwise, how it knows it is in my listener class? What do you mean? Now, this web.xml also not done. Better. Just 2 lines, write it enough. Web.xml. Here. What you have to do is web app. After this one. Remaining same, remaining normal. Only one line, that's it. At last, again, web app close. Now, web app, listener class, listener close, web app close. Online students, end of the session and clarify your doubts, listen the class and write the notes. I think up to last class, you will do like that only. See, after web app or before solids, after web app, before solid, like this listener, open, listener class, and listener, or again close, listener open, listener class open, listener class name, like this. Now, it will search for context initialized method in this class. Okay. Either you have to write like this, or annotation, or you have to write like this, at web listener. It doesn't do anything. Web listener only. That's it. Here our class, public class, my listener implements Solid context listener. Like this, just you have to attach. So either you have to write like this or you have to write like this. Any one required. But if both are there, you will get an error. Server failed to start. That error comes. Server failed to start means either XML or XML listener annotation you have to remove. Any one you have to remove. Then only works. So web.xml or annotation, any one required. Then only it will search in this class. Otherwise, how it knows that is in that class? Okay, server should know. That's what configuration required. Either configure with web.xml or configure with annotation. We are saying to web container, it is a listener class. Then it will check in that class. Yesterday, series of actions I given, like that works. First, what will happen? Application deployed. When application deployed, what will happen? Solid context created. Solid context created. Whenever solid context is created, which event generated? Solid context event generated. That event object passed to which method? Context initialized method. That method where it is? My listener class. How server knows it is my listener? Either XML or annotation. Any one required. If you write both also while executing, failed to start error comes. Tomcat server failed to start. That error comes. If you are getting that error means either remove XML or remove annotation. Any one you have to remove. Then only works. Both are there, error comes. Okay. Now this is my listener concept. Now solid context listener. Now next one we'll see. Next, solid context attribute listener. Is it over? Writing is over this one. Next, write it. Second one, solid context attribute listener. It contains the following event handlers. It contains the following event handlers to handle solid context attribute event, which is generated by web container. Solid context attribute listener. It contains the following event handlers to handle solid context attribute event, which is generated by web container. So all events are generated by container only. It contains the following event handlers, nothing but methods, to handle solid context attribute event, which is generated by web container. Is it over? It contains the following event handlers, nothing but methods. But event is different. Solid context attribute event. Three methods are there. Right? First method, second method, third method. Note down. It contains the following event handlers to handle solid context attribute event, which is generated by web container. Is it over? Attribute added, attribute removed, attribute replaced. Now, solid context attribute event is generated at solid context attribute event is generated whenever attribute is added to solid context, comma, attribute is removed from solid context, and attribute is replaced. Attribute is modified in a solid context. Solid context attribute is generated by web container. Solid context event is generated whenever attribute is added to solid context, attribute is removed from solid context, and attribute is replaced. Attribute is replaced in a solid context. Attribute is added to solid context, attribute is removed from solid context, and attribute is replaced in a solid context. So, while adding attribute also event generated. That event also you can handle. I'll explain. First, is it over? Writing is over. Suppose it is solid context. It is solid context. When the solid context is created, whenever application is deployed. Okay. Now, whenever you deploy application, some memory allocated. This memory common to all solids. Now, solid context dot set attribute. You'll write something example Oracle con. We written no. Then what will happen? This attribute added. Attribute added. Here Oracle con. When attribute added to this context, then also event generated. One more event this is. That is solid context attribute event. So this, whenever this method is called, solid context dot set attribute, then attribute added to context. Then one more event generated. That event is called solid context attribute event. This event passed to attribute added method, first method. Here second, third is there. First I given. Now attribute added method. This object created by web container passed to that method. That method body executed. There is a method sc dot remove attribute method is there. Remove attribute Oracle. If you write, then this attribute is removed. Then again event generated. That event passed to this method. Attribute removed method. Suppose here already you given attribute. Now again you will call. Again second time you will call sc dot set attribute. Set attribute something Oracle. Some other you will write here. Then attribute replaced. This connection modified with other connection. Then attribute replaced called. See, while creating context, one event generated. While adding attribute, one more event generated. But these all previous programs also generated. We didn't handle. Previous programs also generated. We didn't handle. See, here, this solid context created whenever application deployed. Then event generated, that event passed to this method. When this attribute method called, one more event generated. That event is this one. Solid context attribute event. This event object passed to this method. This method body executed. See, when this line is executed, automatically this method executed. When that line is executed, this method executed. But this method you write in one class. That class you configure. Okay. Then it will search in that class, that method executed. Now, remove attribute method is there. Method. That is if you call, this is executed. Set attribute only with the same name. Again, if you call, replaced. So, what you have to do? One more class you have to write. That class implement this method, its interface you have to write. These three methods you have to override. These three methods automatically executed. Okay. Now, third one, HTTP session listener. Third one, HTTP session listener. Just write the notes. Program will see later. Tomorrow we'll see. Write this one. HTTP session listener. It contains the following event handlers. To handle HTTP session event. Which is generated by web container. One minute. Here two methods. Session created, session destroyed. Right is true. HTTP session event is generated by web container. HTTP session event is generated by web container whenever session is created and destroyed. Session tracking, third session tracking method you studied, no? That is. For that one also attribute is there. That is fourth listener. If 5 members not listening class. Three members still they are not listening. You observe, all people observe. 3 members, you observe. Still they are not listening. Like that. Almost half an hour I observed. Half an hour. Since half an hour I'm observing. See, HTTP session listener, it contains the following event handlers, nothing but methods to handle this event. You studied session tracking methods, no? What are the session tracking methods? Cookies, URL rating, HTTP sessions, hidden form field. It is HTTP session related. Okay. Whenever HTTP session ID created, no? Then this method called. Session ID created whenever get session method is called. Get session method of HTTP session interface. Then this is created. This is called event generated. It is called session is destroyed. When session is destroyed by default, after 30 minutes, then this is called. Otherwise, invalidate method is HTTP session invalidate. Then also this is called. Whenever you logged out, invalidate at that time also. How to use this program? We'll see tomorrow. Online students, 1 minute, one by one, I'll clarify your doubts. Online students, one by one, I'll clarify your doubts. 1 minute.